Good evening and welcome to another edition of Maypac Live. I'm your host, Omar. Tonight's show is live. I want to remind everybody who's tuning in that you can call in with your comments or questions to our guests about the subject tonight. We'll be talking about the situation in Gaza, Palestine, the situation of the people that live there, and also the situation of some very special guests that we have tonight who tried to go and march to Gaza with aid, supplies, support, and help to the people of Gaza. I want to first, before we start, introduce my guest for tonight. I have Ed Brown sitting to my left. Dr. Ed Brown, he was a UNC professor for 40 years, is that correct?
That's right.
What did you teach there?
I taught Greek, Latin, and archaeology.
Okay.
In that order.
Excellent. And also to his left, we have Burhan Ghnayem, who recently retired. Now that you have a new profession, is it taking more of your time or less of your time?
Well, of course, more of my time because I.
So you're not really retired.
Yeah, I mean,
from work.
Really, one of the objectives of my early retirement is to be more involved. So I'm happy to be more involved.
And you've been an activist. Activist for Palestine since
all
you've
of my
come to this
years
country.
for Arab American causes, local and in the Middle East. Yes.
Now, Dr. Brown, you yourself, you're also an activist, and also, from what I understand, talking to you before the show, is your son is also heavily involved as well. Michael?
Yes, I could take the credit or the blame for getting him hooked on it, in that we were invited by King Hussein of Jordan to visit after the first Gulf War, and Michael fell in love with the Jordanians and the Jordanian culture in just 1 week.
Wow.
I went back there to study Arabic in 1993 and was coming home through Jerusalem when he heard about the possibility of an ambitious assignment for a 22 or 4-year-old with Dr. Ayad al-Sarraj, the founder of the Gaza Community Mental Health Center.
Okay.
And
so your son was heavily involved in the affairs of Gaza. And
he became heavily involved there.
And I do want to speak a little bit more about this while we get into the show and into the subject. Mr. Waleed Elhentaty is also joining us. He's part of Maypac and also the producer of this show. And he was also there in the march overseas, over there in Egypt, and he'll be also sharing some lights. I want to thank you for coming on tonight's show as well.
Nice
and tell us a little bit about Maypac as well, because a lot of people don't know that this show is produced and directed by Maypac.
Maypac is a group of Muslims, activists, who are trying to do many things, to get the Muslim community in general more familiar with the politics in the United States, get familiar with the political system in the United States, and encourage our local politicians to know more about our causes as Muslims, what we are looking for in the American system, what our goals are, and what we need from them as their constituents, how to represent us in the U.S. Congress and as well as local offices. Actually, we have been very successful so far, in my opinion, given, of course, the number of Muslims as a population. We are very, very small minority in this population, but we reached out to a lot of other activist groups, as well as a lot of politicians in the local area that we are.
Dr. Ghnayem, you are originally from Palestine. You're probably more familiar with the situation in Palestine than most people. Are you from Gaza, or are you from, where are you from exactly?
I am originally from the West Bank, from the Karim area. But despite living in the United States for the last 32 years, I never really lost contact. I travel back home at least once or twice a year, sometimes more, and I spend a lot of time.
So you still have family that lives there?
Yes, I have family living there, and I travel a lot. I'm very involved in many other organizations locally there and here, so I'm very familiar with the suffering of the people of Palestine.
You know, some people don't even know where Palestine is, where Gaza is. Give people out there who are watching the show, who are tuning in, a glimpse into what life in Gaza is today. What would somebody who lives in Gaza, what would they see? What would they encounter? What are the conditions in Gaza right now for the people living there?
In really a very brief presentation of Gaza, Gaza is a large prison that is about 25 miles wide, long and 5 miles wide. It is completely sieged from the sea, from the land, from the air. So it's an open air prison. Nothing enters Gaza without the permission of the Egyptian government and the Israeli government.
Because part of it borders Egypt and the other obviously borders.
Right. So
Israel.
it has borders with Israel, it has borders with Egypt and the sea, the Mediterranean Sea, and all of that is blocked. And so the things that enter actually, as Ed Brown reminded me in the way here, he said that Netanyahu recently said that we wanted to slim them, we put them on a diet by restricting movement of food and supplies to Gaza. So really Gaza is going through a brutal siege, preventing everything from going on. And what made things worse is the criminal attack on Gaza just about a year ago by Israel, where they destroyed most of the power generating stations, the water purification plants, schools, mosques. So really that renders Gaza completely besieged and in very, very dire need of help and support. And that's where the Gaza Freedom March and the Viva Palestina started this activity.
Why is it important, Mr. Brown, for people to know about the situation in Palestine and get involved and show support and become educated about the situation there? Because I tend to believe if you ask the average American, which they're all good-hearted people, about the situation in Gaza or Palestine, they really don't know much about it, to be honest with you. They just know, oh yeah, I think they're fighting, the Jews and the Arabs, or I think they're at odds with each other. I mean, why is it important for us Americans living here to be aware of the situation? How does it really concern us?
May I be blunt?
Sure.
In 1946, I had as my political science professor the last opponent of Hitler before Hitler came to power and put a price on his head. He was teaching me in Pennsylvania at the college I attended in my freshman year. And I remember his saying, the partition of Palestine between the Jews and the Arabs will provide the Danzig corridor of the Third World War if we are not very lucky. And we haven't been lucky. We've drawn closer and closer to that. And we're, as they say on the nuclear clock, we're 5 minutes to 12 right now. So, Mr. Waleed, describe to us kind of the march.
how did it become organized? Who was behind it? What types of organizations led this march? Were